Thank you for talking with me again. I think we had some synchronicities happen with the 108, and I recently found out about the solar eclipse. So I was just wondering, yeah, what your knowledge was, because you're very in depth with all that stuff. So I wanted to talk to you about that.
Yes, thanks for having me on. It's been a
If yeah,
while.
I mean, I know
Yeah.
you have some information about. Okay, so you obviously have your book, the Deja Vu. What has happened? I can't remember the full title. Deja Vu. Yep, that one. And you have a lot of knowledge about ancient civilizations and done a lot of research, and you have a lot of knowing, I guess, about what's happened here. So, yeah, just your insight on what the relation with 108 and the sun and solar eclipse and all that kind of stuff, because there is a solar eclipse coming up. I don't know if you know, in Leo next month. So, yeah, I don't know if you want to talk about like what you know about what's going on, because I guess everyone has a different perspective of the astrology, and because there's like the Vedic, there's Western, there's all sorts of stories. So I just wanted to know your take on everything, or like what you've discovered.
Yes, thanks for having me on. And you're right, I've been researching this 108 stuff for a long time. Actually, it was like even 5 years ago or even 6 years ago when I first attempted to decode these relations, because these relations are between the sun, between the moon, between the earth. And I will show the presentation right now because it's a part of another presentation, because it's a much broader topic. But when it comes to this 108 stuff, I think it's fascinating, and it shows us that there is probably some kind of, I call it the algorithm behind the solar system. I would say some kind of matrix code behind how it is created. And I think it shows that it's not random at all, but there is much more to that, and it connects both the universal stuff, physics, astrology, astronomy, with ancient knowledge, because 108 was a very important number, especially in the Far East, in India, for example. And I actually, this is from my presentation. I initially found about this 108 stuff from Sadhguru, and I have a quote from him, and I specifically took these three colors because these three colors from his quote will basically show us three different geometric equations about, how this 108 fits in the solar system. So what Sadhguru said is the diameter of the sun multiplied by 108 equals the distance between sun and earth, and the diameter of the moon multiplied by 108 equals the distance between earth and moon. The diameter of the sun is 108 times the diameter of the earth. And even from this quote, I already thought, wait a minute, this 108 is not only with just one celestial body, it's not like only about the diameter of the sun or some kind of distance, let's say, from sun to earth, but it connects two different kinds of things: the diameters of three planets, not planets, but three celestial bodies, because of the sun, of earth, and of the moon. And then it connects also the distances between sun and earth and moon. So everything is connected by 108, you basically have three unknowns, like in the math equation: x, y, and z. So x let be sun, y will be earth, and z will be the moon. And you have the distances between them, and you have the diameters of them, and everything connects to 108. So I thought to myself that you can plot it. This is what I'm showing right now. It's looking very funny and looking, you can understand that this like red line means the diameter of the sun times 108 equals the distance between sun and earth, etc., etc. But basically what I'm showing you here is just plotting graphically what this quote said. that 108 diameters of the sun equals the distance between sun and earth, and 108 diameters of the moon equals the distance between moon and earth, and then 108 diameters of the earth equals the diameter of the sun. So you see, wow, it shows us that our solar system is not random at all, as scientists would like to say. Oh, it's just, random matter stuff, nothing like crazy, no maths, no algorithm behind, but it's all connected to each other. And then these are just, as I've said, equations. X is sun, Y is earth,
Yeah.
and Z is the moon. So you can actually just do what you do at maths, so change the equations. So from the previous ones, you can also deduce that 400 diameters of the moon equals the diameter of the sun, and then 400 distances between moon and earth equals the distance between sun and earth. So again, the same number but completely different stuff. Everything's connected. But then you go for this, you just change the equation, change them, substitute sun for this, moon for that, etc., and you came with this final one, that the diameter of the moon times 43,200 equals the distance between sun and earth. And right now we are coming back to 108, 432, 432 hertz in spiritual communities, in conspiracy theory communities. These are very important numbers, tuning, frequency, etc. But these are actually ancient numbers, very known and very important, because for instance, number of syllables in the Rig Veda equals 432 and 3 zeros, 432,000. The number of the stanzas in the Rig Veda is 10,800, so basically 108 with 2 additional zeros. These numbers were very important, and here for any kind of people, because this looks like, okay, if we assume or we have a worldview based on spiritual stuff or on sacred geometry, this may not surprise us. But if you're coming at it from a mainstream perspective, oh, it's just a randomness, oh, it's just a matter, this seems like, no, it cannot be true. But here are the calculations that it's not that it is 107 or 113 and we're approximating this number to 108 because it fits, the ancient text and fits our worldview. No, if you actually take distances in miles and connect that with plenty of decimal places, you see that it is exactly 108, with the first number being like the percentage error of 0.778%, then 0.25%, and then the third one 1.1%, which basically means with such big numbers that this is almost exactly, but if you want to be exact, it would be that the diameter of the sun times 108.0001, for instance, or 003. So it's very accurate. It's still 108. It's almost perfect, almost ideal, within 1% and less percentage error with these calculations. Here are more calculations if, any maths nerds here are, how it mathematically should be taken, but it's basically what I've told you in these like cool graphs. But then the Great Pyramid of Giza, and this famous, it being the model of the northern hemisphere of the earth, on the exact scale of 1 to 43,200, the same number, 43,200, 432 with 2 zeros. And again, percentage error is within 0.38% and 0.5%, which means that if we take the polar radius of the Earth, so basically the radius coming from the North Pole to the center of the Earth, it will approximate the height of the Great Pyramid on the scale of 43,200 almost exactly. And when you take the base of the Great Pyramid and use it as a model of the equator, it again will be less than 1% error on this scale of 1 to 43,200. And I believe that, including what we've talked about the Rig Veda, what we've talked about the pyramids, what we talk about, secret ancient knowledge, secret societies, and 432 and 108 being sacred numbers. I believe this is some kind of message of our ancient ancestors, which shows that they were much more advanced than the mainstream is thinking, that they wanted to leave this message in ancient texts, in the monuments like the Great Pyramid of Giza, in order for future generation to have this code, that these numbers are very important. And I think that if we can calculate that, and why I'm talking about it, because the whole presentation before that was actually, and I can, if you want, go into it in a moment after finishing the 108th thread, but basically what I calculated before is that there is an algorithm based on the golden ratio of our solar system and how planets have been distanced from sun to a particular planet, so from sun to Mercury, from sun to Venus, from sun to Earth, which is the basis of this 108 stuff. And then I came up that everything is based on this actually distance from Earth to sun. So I think that why all of these numbers are important. They show us that there is some kind of code behind at least this part of reality, meaning the solar system and celestial bodies like planets, sun, and moons. And I think that it's just a tip of the iceberg. And if we further go into these calculations, and if we further go into the sacred numbers, we may, in the future, maybe far future, maybe near future, actually try and calculate the entire code behind maybe even the entire reality, maybe not only the solar system, but maybe the entire reality. And imagine if you had a code, like we have laws of physics, we have different calculations, gravity, electromagnetism, but imagine having a code that if put, let's say, in an engine, or let's put in a computer, would generate you exactly the replica of our material world. How much would we know if we had such code behind our reality? Maybe secrets like materialization, like of yogis, levitation, stuff like that, free energy, and other stuff will be at our disposal because of that. So that's why I think it's so important. And it connects not only in space, because we're talking about space, distances, but it also connects with time, because all of that is based on these cycles of time, based on the precession of the equinoxes, which is like, it's not some kind of human invention, human fantasy, but basically what it is, it's an astronomical phenomenon of additional orbit of our planet. So our planet is, have one orbit, so it's rotating around its own axis. The second one is rotating around the sun, and the third one is this wobble on the left of the slide, which shows the great Platonic year and the zodiacal cycles, because it is because of this phenomenon that we see different zodiac signs throughout different epochs. And if we divide the zodiac signs into 12, it means that each 2160 years there is a new zodiac sign, new zodiacal epoch, which I show approximating here. But also what it shows us is that everything is based and both connected with time and space, because we think of time as, it's going, it's going, it's going. But actually, on a cosmic or even on a solar system level perspective, time is basically the movement of the celestial bodies, because how we calculate one day. One day is one rotation of our planet around its own axis. What is 1 year? It is one rotation of our planet around the sun, one full rotation. And then this is called the Great Year, which is basically going of our planet through full 12 zodiac signs, the full circle, because we can divide it into 36 like in India, or 13 like some conspiracy theory people say it's 13 zodiac signs, not 12. Maybe yes, maybe not, but it depends on us how we divide the zodiac signs. The full circle will be always full circle, and we can divide the circle into how many pieces and how many fractions that we want to. But you again see the same numbers of years, and these are universal stuff, because 1 year is based on one rotation of Earth around the sun. So you see the same numbers based on 72, so 432, 108 in these cycles of time, in these cycles of the precession of the equinoxes. So I think that these numbers 108 and 432 are connected to some kind of an underlying matrix code of reality, whatever it is, whether it's divine, whether it's like simulation of some aliens, whatever. But I believe that this is why it's very important to go for that. And you mentioned to me this cool thing that this, each lunar eclipse is half of the number 108, so basically 54. And I think it's again connected. I haven't like calculated and put into this presentation, but I think it clearly fits, because if this 108 number is both within the distances of planets and both within the time aspect of it, maybe that's why also it connects with the full solar eclipses. And what is interesting about the solar eclipse, it's because of these numbers that it's even possible. Because why can we have full solar eclipse? So basically what is a solar eclipse? It's the moon covering our sun in almost entirety, and we see for a moment almost no sun. There is just a little bit of light coming, outside of the moon. But basically it's because of this geometry of this planet that it's possible. Because imagine, what if our moon would be two-thirds of its size or half of its size? There wouldn't be possible to be a full solar eclipse, because if the moon would have the same orbit, it would cover only half of the sun, because it would be just half of its current, measure. So because the moon is 108 times smaller than the distance between sun and moon, it is actually possible for it to cover the entire sun. So this is the key, this is the code, and it connects to everything. Any
Wow.
comments?
Yeah, well, yeah, well, I mean, yeah, you're very in depth with the knowledge about 108. I think the Indian Vedic knowledge links up to what you're saying. So they obviously have the prayer for the 108. I'm not sure, but it's very divine number for the Indians, and they like belief system, I guess, because they have it's different to the Western understanding of astrology. They use a completely different system, and like you were saying, 108 is a divine number. I know that, and yeah, it was interesting because I saw the solar eclipse was of the 108, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. And then there was also something else that came up that I had a look at. It was every 18 years, I think. So again, 9. Something happens with the solar eclipse. I can't remember, but I think it resets every 18 years or something like that. I think what you're saying, I'm just, because there's obviously different realms of understanding with the astrology stuff, there's the Vedic, there's the Western, and I guess there's other systems as well. So but the numbers don't lie. So the understanding of the distance of the planets and stuff like that. So there is a continuity, even if the understanding is a little different. So yeah, I think that's really interesting. You're very, I want to say, intelligent with all this understanding. I'm not. The 108 triggered me because obviously, like I told you, the Indians have the philosophy of 108 is a very divine number for them, and they do prayer for 108. I know that for sure. So it's very sacred to them, and they have an understanding of the cosmos. Not in a better way, but I feel like they have a more in-depth way of understanding what's going on astrologically. So yes, I just wanted to put that out there. Yeah, I'm not saying it's better or worse, but I feel like they have more what do you call it, nuance. They have more it's a bit more detailed compared to what Westerners would, because it's not very accepted for for the most part. If someone talks about astrology, in their culture, it's embedded, when they get married, or when everything is embedded in their culture when it comes to astrology. So it's very different to how we think in the modern world. It's completely different. I'm not saying it's better or worse, but they just have a more in-depth understanding of the astrological and numerological crossovers. So I think pairing up, those knowledges is kind of important. But yeah, I appreciate what you've done because I mean, like, yeah, you explained it very well. I don't know how to follow on from that, but yeah, I just find it interesting because not a lot of people talk about this, just the way that you understood it, you know? So, yeah, I don't know if you have anything more to say about it, but it's very interesting. Yeah.
Yes, I can comment on that. You've mentioned, the Eastern astrology, the Western one, the differences, but actually the differences are, for instance, into how many fractions we divide the full circle, whether it is 12 zodiac signs, whether it was 24, 36. You can divide it into hundreds and thousands of different ones, but the movement of the planets will be the same and is the same, and our ancient ancestors recorded the same movements no matter what, and so the astrology stays the same, and the full meaning is again all the same because it's an independent on culture, true astronomical thing, phenomenon that is shaping these astrological beliefs. And my personal take on all of these different astrologies, whether we are talking about just casual astrology we know from horoscopes and zodiac signs, or whether like the yuga cycles in ancient India, I believe it's a very important, and right now I would say it's a knowledge that it's more popular still right now, but it's a knowledge that it's very important, and very often it's like not talked about in the mainstream, or it's just a fairy tale, just a superstition of our ancestors. But I believe these astrological cyclical time beliefs are basically just instructions manual on how to live on earth, that okay, you were born with this zodiac sign on this day and this day, so it's better to you to take this kind of road. It's not like you need to take that, but it's better for you to go and express yourself in this kind of areas, be have this kind of jobs. You're not fully limited, but you know what I mean. The same with, for instance, the zodiacal epochs. So at a global level, imagine, okay, you are born in the Kali Yuga, so you need to act completely different than if you're born in the Golden Age Satya Krita Yuga. There are different kinds of scenarios going on in the world, different kind of energies, different kinds of situations that you need to adapt to. It's like, let's say I compare it, that's why I talk a little bit about simulation theory with that. I think it's the divine matrix, divine simulation theory, but basically I can compare that to a video game. Let's say some people will want to play the game on an easy mode, so they spawn in the game in the easy mode in a different era, Kali Yuga, not Kali but the Golden Age, Krita Satya Yuga, or maybe some people would like to go all in and go the hard mode, and they go for Kali Yuga or any kind of other dark or bad age. So that's why I think it's very important, and I think the problem with modern society and all the problems nowadays is that instead of taking what is necessary at the current moment, and instead of doing what is right to do, we very often go into ideologies. Politicians do that with their decision. Okay, maybe right now it should be good to act like that, and for instance there is a conflict and not take part of it, etc. But no, I'm a politician of this party and I need to vote according to ideology, and I need to take actions according to ideology. And I believe it's artificial. The same with people. Okay, you need to go to be a doctor, you need to go to be a lawyer. I think we need to come back to nature. We need to come back to this lost knowledge that, okay, there are different eras, there are different epochs, just as there are different seasons, and even probably you also experience that there are different seasons to our lives. Okay, in the previous season of my life, 5, 4, or whatever years ago, it was good to me to do that. But right now, if I try to do the same thing, it's a bad thing because the situations changed, my life changed, and everything is changing constantly. But it doesn't mean that, in the future it won't happen again. Maybe it will. Maybe there will be a completely different season of life. So it's like the power versus force in the spiritual community, that if you're spiritual, you have this power and you go with the flow. But if you're on the ego side, you want to force things into how you would like to them to be, or into how it will be good from your ego point or ideology point. So that's why I think it's such an important knowledge, and that's why I think it's nowadays it's all about artificiality and about forcing things, because I believe in that, and identity. Oh, I identify as, on the left wing or the right wing, whatever, on this political spectrum. So I need to act like that because it will be crazy if I act a different way. But I think that we should go the natural way. Just go with the flow and choose what is right at the current moment. And actually, what I'm talking about, it's connected to these cycles of times, because basically when it comes to these yugas and when it comes to these astrological beliefs, there were different concepts for that, like dharma, not karma, but dharma is connected
Yeah,
with the yugas, which is basically, there are different interpretations of that, but dharma is basically righteousness. So be
yeah,
right in what you're doing, so choose the right thing, be wise and not like egoic or something. In the West, there were like ancient concepts like necessity. For instance, maybe right now I want to do that, but I want, like I desire, but maybe it is necessary for me to do something different in order to let there be better future, or let there be a better result of my work or something. So there were concepts like that. They are forgotten, unfortunately. I think we should go to the natural way and choose the right things, and not the artificial ones that we identify with.
yeah. I think with the identity, um, hmm, yeah, I think a lot of people get caught up in ego or like their persona, or yeah. I mean, it's like the time. Well, it's a sign of the times, I guess. I feel, I look at the younger generation, like they're quite aware of what's going on, but at the same time, it's a bit of a struggle for them, like ego wise. I think it's good to have a positive ego, but yeah, it's like, I don't know. Yeah, it's a bit confusing for them. I recognize that. And I think that, um, we all have that within us. Like we identify too much with, certain aspects of ourselves, but ultimately it's the same thing, like whether you're born in India or, wherever, it's like you said, they all have like, there's a common ground there, even though maybe the stories are different, maybe they are, like the like with the stories, I feel like each maybe culture or whatever have different interpretations of what's going on, but the morals or like the foundation of what they're trying to portray is ultimately more or less similar, same kind of thing, like do good, that kind of stuff. So that's really important, like to come back to the natural world. I think that we have to care for one another again, and yeah, like ultimately we are a human species, like we're all the same. It doesn't matter what race you are, what belief system you have, like it's all the same. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's what I feel. So I think that trying to link up the common aspects of what we have in whether it's the solar system or the astronomy or whatever, like I think there is a common thread somehow, somewhere that keeps us together. That's what I feel. So yeah, I don't know. Like yeah, there's a lot to learn from other people. I think that there's a vast world out there, that we can learn from. But like the Australian Aborigines, they have a lot of knowledge about the stars and what has occurred here, and they have their tribal knowledge and everything. So I think like every indigenous or culture have their stories. So I think if we come from a place of respect and understanding, we can learn more. Like you've retain the knowledge, you understand. Like I don't have that depth, but I know where you're coming from. So I appreciate people that understand. And like, you know, you're obviously of a slightly younger generation than me. So I see a lot of the younger generation are actually quite intelligent, but I feel like they're just, I don't know, maybe a bit misunderstood in their intelligence. But yes, I understand where you're coming from.
Yes, misunderstood, but maybe also, don't knowing what they should do with that, because as I said, the modern world is full of artificiality and full of, okay, go do this, go do that, etc. But maybe it's like they, go into all of these ways instead of searching what they would like to do, what they see it, good for them, and what they know they will be good at. So I love these topics because, as you see, we started with sacred numbers 108. We went through the entire solar system. Then we talked about a little bit about the entire code of the entire reality on a deeper level, simulation, astrology, cyclical time, and we come back to nowadays, to like current problems, to casual life. So that's why I like such topics, because it's all connected. It's not like, oh, we only talk about the ratios in the solar system, or we only talk about lost civilizations or only lost knowledge. No, it's all connected to each other. And the more you learn about these topics, the more you see how important it all is, both to understand the world and both just in even practicality of day-to-day stuff.
Yeah. You're right. I think that there's so much to learn, and yeah, I think as long as you have an open mind, and you're receptive of it because you're clearly understanding what's going on, I think that's the most important thing. And I think most people are kind of expanding their consciousness at the moment and being more receptive of these things, thanks to the internet and stuff like that, which is a good thing. And I feel like a lot of people are becoming more, I want to say telepathic or more like heart-based, because a lot of the information is online now. Like you said, like it's all artificial, and it's kind of like we're molding the artificial and the natural world together at the moment, and we're kind of finding like a continuum with what's going on our reality in the earth plane and our reality on the internet, or whatever you want to call it, because half our lives are on online now. So it's finding a balance between both worlds. And yeah, I think as long as you have an open mind and are respectful, you will be able to understand more concepts like you do. And yeah, I think ultimately, like everything is consciousness, and we're obviously evolving or adapting to whatever's happening. I think with the artificial timeline, it's up, like it's an individual job as well as a collective job, and I think that for the most part it should be positive. If we keep that mindset, it will be okay. And yeah, I feel like even though everything is expanding and it's getting too much sometimes, like the earth is there to support us in our grounding and adapt to this evolution of consciousness, because clearly there is like some sort of push towards people to understand like higher levels of consciousness, because if I think about when I was growing up, this sort of stuff was not normal to talk about. Yeah.
Yes. I also see that in the last few years, maybe last 10, 15 years, there is a huge shift, there is a huge change towards such topics. And I think that's cool. And I'm also positive about the near future, or the more far away from us future, because I see that, it's coming back to be good again.
Yeah. I think, exactly. Like, ultimately, like it's a positive thing. I do see a lot of, like in my daily life, I feel like a lot of people are understanding, or it might just be my perception as well, but I think more empathy and, more awareness of what's going on, as opposed to, maybe I was too young, but I think that in my younger years I felt more like lonely, I would say, and misunderstood, as opposed to, because I feel like there's a quickening happening and a lot of people are like, like it's either you understand what's going on or you just get kind of like fallen behind kind of thing. Yeah, and for the most part, I think people are, they're getting traction of what's going on. So it's a personal choice, but I think that I feel like there is a lot of collective awakening happening. So it's a positive thing, like it relates to what you're saying, because that's cross-cultural. It's not just like, I guess astronomy is, well, astrotheology or the stuff that you're talking about is kind of like all encompassing, but like, how can I say, it's just everything's interconnected. So it's, interesting how I guess consciousness evolves to a certain point where we can create our reality collectively, I guess, is what I want to say. Like, I feel like most people want peace at this point. I could be wrong, but that's what I see. That's what I want. So it could be just my own projection, but I do see a change happening. Yeah.
Yes,
So I think it links in.
Yeah, it links to everything, as like for the end remarks connecting to that. Recently, David Wilke, a great researcher, passed away, and he was a great proponent of these global meditation practices, which basically means that at one time, all around the world, let's say a few hundred, a few thousands of people gather together and at the same time meditate for the well-being of, let's say, some region, maybe the entire planet, whatever. But what is interesting is that it seems to work that even a few hundred people or a few thousand people can have impact on much bigger numbers of people, like 100 times more, 1,000 times more. And there even were a few peer-reviewed articles on that based on statistics that when, for instance, 300 meditators meditated on a well-being of a particular region, statistically, and looking with, trying to exclude different kinds of things like it's, particular time of the year, season, or bad weather, etc., but the crime rates, the accident rates, and everything bad went down a lot, statistically speaking. And what you've said, that it's all better, that people are waking up, it's also within the spiritual community, like the David Hawkins with his scale of consciousness. He said that the higher you are at the scale of consciousness, the more you uplift other people around you. And he basically said that one person on a high spirituality level can impact, like automatically, even without any kind of work, a few tens of thousands or even a few hundred thousands of other people. So basically, even different kinds of single people here and there waking up and being, according to them, at some higher frequency or higher consciousness state, they can impact the entire planet. So I think that that's, how this process happened, actually.
Yeah, I think you're right, because like when you shift your perspective, you feel like the whole world changes around you. So obviously your field is affecting other people, whether they're conscious or not. Something's happening. So your reality is changing. Meanwhile, you're affecting other people's realities. So it's like we're not separate. We're taught to feel like everything is separate, but it's not. Even though you want to remove yourself away from the collective. Like I have a friend that tells me like, oh, I'm not part of the collective, I'm my own individual self. And I said, you can't remove yourself from that, because no matter what, you're a human, right? Like it's just impossible to do that. But I understand the process of individuation, and I know that, we all have a purpose or whatever, but it's ultimately the same thing that we're desiring for or aiming for after life, right? Like we kind of want to retain what we've learned, or we want something greater, right, than ourselves. So it's like, I don't know how to explain it. We can't remove that collective field of understanding within the human psyche. It's like, even if you find your own path and you affect other people's fields, you're still part of the collective, no matter what, right? Like you can't. Yeah, you're gonna affect the collective, and the collective is gonna affect you. So ultimately, we're part of the same species, and I don't know. It's just, I'm not like a communist or something, but I feel like, there should be more equality on our earth, and like the ratios, and you were talking about ratios and stuff. I think a lot of stuff comes down to the fact that the numerology and the understanding of numbers is quite uneven. I feel like the way that, like money and other things are valued in society are not holistic to like divine proportion. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's part of the problem. And if we can get back to that somehow, that would be good. But, I think in the past we had more intelligence, like you were suggesting. So, yeah, that's
I
my
wouldn't say
feeling.
intelligence,
Sorry.
but I would say, no, don't worry. Don't worry. I would say not more intelligence, but actually more wisdom. Right now, we have like maybe only, we are more and more intelligent for sure, and we are having tremendous strides in technology, but we lack the wisdom. And because intelligence is basically what AI can do. It can probably think fast and solve
Yeah.
like equations, solve problems, but we also need wisdom. We need the big picture. We need to be able to connect the dots, and we need to, just feel what is right. So I feel we do not lack intelligence, but we lack wisdom.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, you're right. Although I feel like wisdom is intelligence. Like that's the true intelligence. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
I think
Yeah,
that
it's
our
just about the
society
naming.
values that kind of. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
it's just
agreeing with you.
about the
Yeah, I know.
naming, how we call this stuff. Because, for instance, we say, oh, it's intelligence, it's wisdom, maybe it's like right and left hemisphere, it's all we know in the West, or maybe we say conscious, subconscious. But in India and in plenty of other cultures, it's much deeper than that. In India, there's like 11
Yeah,
or 7 parts of intelligence, or, this is like analytical intelligence, this is like artistic, creative intelligence, etc. So it's
yeah,
basically about our naming. So, yeah, to some extent, wisdom is intelligence, but I meant like intelligence in like the intellect analytical mind form. I think there's too much of that and too little of understanding what we are
yeah.
intellectually calculating and looking at.
I think that language is also part of the problem. I want to say that
Yeah.
like English is quite polluted. It's not like an easy language to talk. I feel like you can't get your expression across properly. So I understand exactly what you're saying, and I really feel like hopefully in the future we can have more of a I don't know, like a global language or something that we can understand. Like like in the past we had the hieroglyphs or whatever. Like we had more like pictographical uh, ways to communicate. So maybe in the future it will be like that. But yeah, I know where you're coming from, and I feel like yeah, more or less we're trying to retain our history and move forward to a better future. That's what I feel. I could be wrong, but yeah, I'm hoping that's the case. Yeah.
Yes. I don't know how about you, but I feel that we should stop with this because we don't want to overwhelm our listeners, our readers. I think 40 something minutes will be cool to for the people to be able to get this knowledge and implement in their own life and see
Yeah.
how it connects to what they know about whether just day-to-day life or universe or ancient mysteries and stuff like that. So thank you. I really appreciate being here and talking with you, but from me, it will be probably everything
Thank
in this topic.
Okay. Yes. Thank you, Alexander. Hang on a second. Yes. All right. Because I think you're recording. But I appreciate you talking with me today, and hopefully we'll be able to continue on with something else in the future. But yeah, thank you for your wisdom and intelligence. I appreciated that.
Thank you.
I wanted to elaborate more with the sun stuff, but I feel like I didn't have enough research. I'm sorry. I had
I
researched it,
don't
but
have much more on the on the sun stuff too, like with this connection. It's like a separate topic, like an hour and a half or
mm,
something, so I don't want to know to overdo today's.
yeah, fair enough. Yeah, no, that's okay. I think that was my main interest. So I appreciate it. Anyways, yeah. So we can find you on your website. Do you have a website? You say?
Yes, I will send you the link so you can get them in the
Do you have a
description.
website,
Just
Alexander?
yes, I have czeszkiewiczglobal.com. So
Yeah.
CZESZKI. It's hard. I will send you the link, but basically, if you copy and paste my name and surname, you can find me on many social medias like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. You can find my book is Deja Vu, has everything already been. It's on Amazon, and I think that's the easiest way to basically find me, and then you can have the links to the websites and everything.
Thank you so much. Okay, I will post it on the YouTube. Take care for now.
Thank you.
Hopefully we speak soon.